So thank you, Allie, for your story. And thank you, everyone, for your patience with all the technology. I think technology took like 5 minutes total, at least today. So I appreciate everyone's patience. Are there any questions?
I have a question.
Sure.
So, I was reading something for some professional development, and it was about health and stress and that sort of thing. But there was a line in it that said that um, generally the people, and I'm not sure if it was just U.S. or globally, believe that it's a human right, a basic fundamental human right to be healthy and live a long life. And I thought, well, I don't know about that. um, so it seemed if you prescribe to the Buddhist philosophy, which I do, that really isn't a right at all. Um, so if you could comment on that, I would appreciate it.
Yeah, so my first reaction is, oh, there's a Buddhist philosophy? I mean, in fact, there is Buddhist philosophy, but Buddhism is not about philosophy. So there's Christian philosophy and Jewish philosophy and Buddhist philosophy and so on, but the practice is not about philosophy. So the thing that comes closest to what's really relevant is the notion of correct view, which is not about ideas, but how do you actually see things? What do you actually see, not with your eyes, but what you actually see cognitively? How do you see the world? So, right view, correct view, recognizes suffering, it recognizes impermanence. Also, the notion that you have a right to a long life and to good health, that's a category error because rights are things you get from the state, that the state should provide circumstances for you. So, for example, the right to vote. If you're a citizen, you should be able to vote. That's the right to vote. And then maybe the state decides to circumscribe it, like if you're in jail, maybe they don't want you to vote, and so they take away that right. So, a right is something that a state, a government gives or takes away. And health and long life are not things that the government gives or takes away. But the government has a responsibility to provide as much as it can for people to have the resources to maximize their health, to be able to have a healthy life. It has a responsibility to keep the air as clean as possible, keep the water as healthy as possible. So it's not that you have a right to health and long life, but it's that the government, in at least my take on it, and it's sort of in the Declaration of Independence, the government has a responsibility to not cut our lives short and to not destroy our health. So that's a different thing. But yeah, I mean, the idea that, if I'm not healthy, that something's gone wrong. No, if I'm not healthy, it means I'm not healthy. And yeah, the idea that our expectation should be to live a long life and to have good health. That's not correct because there are too many counterexamples of people doing all the right things and yet they get sick and everybody dies. So that's a lack of understanding of impermanence, and it's a lack of understanding of the nature of suffering. So yeah, when you're sick, just be sick. Don't complain about it. I mean, yeah, you get to say, "Oh, I feel really terrible." Somebody bring me some tea. That's fine. But to be beat yourself up about it and say, oh, this terrible thing has happened, I'm sick. You're just adding another layer of misery onto it. And everybody dies. So we have to live with that everybody dies. And some people shorter and some people longer. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Seems a little cut and dried to me. I feel like I missed some profound thing that I missed there, but I missed it, so there you have it. Are there any other questions? And if you're in the room, you just have to shout out because I really can't. You're just a bunch of little tiny bodies there.
So it's Ting. Why retreat, Judy?
Why not? Because we get distracted in our lives, and it's very difficult to see our true nature and the true nature of this universe. Because we have all these things we need to do and all these demands on our time and all these ways that we distract ourselves. So a retreat provides a place where you can really focus. There's nothing else to do. And your mind appears and you can't be distracted from it. There's no distractions from it. And you see what actually is going on. That's why a retreat. Would you like me to say more?
Wenda says sure.
Pardon?
Wenda says, sure.
I don't know, there's nothing like a retreat. Those of us who've done it know that there's nothing like a retreat. But it's exactly this space in which there are no, or rather minimal distractions. There's always distractions. Our minds always make distractions, but minimal distractions, and you are encouraged not to hold on to those distractions. And silence is extremely important on a retreat. Because the minute you open your mouth, you're distracting yourself, you're distracting other people, you're solidifying things that are fluid. William Burroughs used to say, and I say this at the beginning of almost every retreat that I'm the teacher, language is a virus from outer space. I don't know about the outer space part, but language is a virus, and we're constantly infecting each other. And it's worse than COVID-19 virus. It's totally insidious and it totally captures us. And so we have this space where by and large, there's no speech. By and large, nobody is distracting anybody else. And we're encouraged to look deeply into the great work of life and death. And we're encouraged to cultivate and live in this don't know mind. This mind which is not judging, it's not checking, it's not making decisions, it's not going around and around and around deciding what things are. It's just open and free. And we're encouraged to cultivate that mind and learn to live in that mind in a way that we can't the rest of the time, because there are all these demands on us. There are all these things we have to do, or things we convince ourselves we have to do, or things we do in order to avoid the things we have to do. Right? So a retreat gives us a space away from that. And there's really no substitute for it. There's no substitute for a retreat, whether it's a group retreat or a solo retreat. There's no substitute for a retreat when it comes to waking up, seeing our true self, seeing the nature of this world, developing a strong center that will not be moved. Okay? I could repeat myself, but I encourage everyone, if you can, in your life, to do a retreat. And I encourage everyone to do it in person with other people if your situation allows that. And if you can't, I encourage you to do it on Zoom, or all our retreats are hybrid. And clear out your space in which you're doing the retreat if it's on Zoom. I encourage everyone to do a retreat. In fact, I encourage everyone to do lots of retreats. And I could say you get something from a retreat you can't get anywhere else, but you know what? There's nothing to get. And you can realize there's nothing to get on a retreat better than without a retreat. So, thank you.
I have a kind of
Yeah.
question. I have done a lot of retreat, and my husband and I both, I think, would like to be doing even more retreat.
Mm-hmm.
But but something I heard in Ali's story, and I think some like question I put to my own life and practice has something to do maybe with the right view in terms of what you think you're going to get from a retreat and like why you do it. And as I said, I'd like to be in retreat a lot more than I am, but sometimes I wonder, like, I mean, maybe it's something like at some point, like I have this view that I have to be in retreat, and I think that view itself, it's I feel like it can block my practice, and maybe it's something like Dogen saying, just this sitting is practice, and maybe it's wanting to get something, but somehow I feel like the view, if only I could do more retreat, somehow is actually a block to the maturation of my practice.
Yeah, we can be attached to retreats also. And we can use retreats, we can use practice as a way of avoiding our responsibilities, our obligations, our functions. Yeah, you can become very attached to retreats.
Do you think it can block the understanding that there is that wisdom everywhere? Like,
there's no understanding to block. But what it can do is it can shore up our sense, I am so special. I do all of these retreats. Or we can have the sense, I need these retreats because there's something wrong with me and I have to fix that. And so I have to do these retreats. Or we can have, I am so special, I do these retreats, which I do because I am so terrible that I need all these retreats, but I am so special because we do them, right? You can have both of them simultaneously. So anything we do, if we make it special, it's a problem. It's a real problem. And each of us has to look at our lives and just see very clearly, without judgment, just see very clearly in the moment, what is my job? Is my job to do a retreat right now? Is my job to not do a retreat right now? We have to be attuned. Am I doing a retreat as a way to escape something? Or am I doing a retreat because, hey, there's this retreat, let's do this retreat, So everybody has to look at it themselves, see their own life. I'm not a big fan of Chogyam Trungpa, but he had this great saying, spiritual materialism. And yeah, we can attach to practice and we can make it spiritual materialism. I'm going to get as much of this as possible so I can show how much more I have than other people. Yeah, that's a problem. So you have to look at your own life. You have to look in your own heart and your own mind and see what is impelling you to want to do more retreats. Maybe that's absolutely the thing you should do. And maybe it's absolutely the thing you shouldn't do. Okay? But people who've not done a lot of retreats, that's not a problem for you. Just do retreats. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Anne. Are there any other questions? Well, you know what? We've run out of time, actually. So